Today's episode takes us into the fascinating intersection of art, technology, and human creativity. Joining me is someone who truly lives at that crossroads, Simone Malan. Simone is a digital design lecturer, freelance designer, and musician whose work explores how technology can enhance, not overpower, the essence of creativity. He holds a master's in communication design from Politecnico di Milano and a bachelor's in new technologies for art, with part of his studies completed in Ireland. But Simone's story doesn't stop there. Alongside design, he is a trained classical cellist, earning an LTCL diploma from the Trinity College, London, bringing an artistic depth and rhythm that flow naturally into his visual work. Today, he teaches at a fashion institute in Paris, guiding students through digital design, virtual reality, and 3D modeling, always emphasizing that technology should serve creativity, not the other way around. And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in today's conversation, going beyond the trends, when technology truly adds value in design and fashion. We'll discuss how to see beyond the hype of virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and digital tools, and how true innovation happens when craftsmanship, identity, and technology works in harmony. Simone, welcome to Fashion Voices. Today's world moves so fast, especially in fashion and design. Every few months, there's a new buzzword, a new technology everyone feels they must use. But sometimes feels like we are chasing trends more than creating meaning. Why do you think designers and brands are always in such a rush to adapt new technology that comes along?
Okay, so this in these past years, in particular, when I started to study and to research new technologies, I've seen that there were this kind of big innovations that entered in the market, and then sometimes, in particular, big events like VR or NFTs, etc. There were a drastic fall down. And the fact is, a lot of time there was kind of a pattern with so the big innovation, a lot of investments, and then immediate failure. And the fact is, a lot of time this happens because everything was so fast, was kept as a technological disruption, and so everyone was trying to go forward and so adopt as soon as possible these new technologies. But a lot of time this didn't happen and translated into a failure, because what happens was that the enterprises didn't adopt the new technology, trying to add values and try to find the reason why they adopted it, but they tried actually to stay aligned with the market. And so, yeah.
When do you think like all this new technological stuff started to happen? Like which year? Because as I remember, like when we were studying fashion designing, when I was doing the diploma, maybe somewhere in 2010, 2009, technology was not that much part of the game. When did it started to boom?
Well, it depends which kind of technologies. So actually, also the new trends of technologies that were launched in the mass market had a boom in certain years. For example, the VR was like when I was still working at the Politecnico, almost in around the pandemic era. And in this kind of situation, and the fact is that technology was already used and in use by many enterprises, early adopters that were like experimenting, expanding these functionalities. In those years, actually entered in the mass market as a boom. That and then was there actually for I think 6 months, not more than 1 year. In fact, at the beginning, I was actually trying to explore at Polytechnic which could be those potential also for the academy, for the experience also in design context. And then I started also to teach those technologies at university, in order to show what could be the potential aspects and instead the limits of these technologies. But actually then fall down immediately. And I discovered that finally was not such a failure as it was. And so actually, probably when you were studying, were not still in adoption, also because the fashion, for example, in my experience, is a little behind compared to many other sectors where actually these technologies were already pushed. For example, from my experience in the gaming environment, where are still much more in advance.
And you just came to a good point talking about virtual reality.
Yeah.
I had the chance learning the basics from you about virtual reality. So since we came to a good point, what do you feel like the rise and fall of virtual reality? And what's the thing behind that? And how do we as designers should grasp that, the failure and the high potential that comes in with a new technology once it's in the market? What should it be like?
So the fact is, virtual reality is a particular technology that had a really drastic fall.
Yes.
In particular, probably because the expectation were so high about this technology. And what I've seen was that at the beginning was like the new innovation, something really that changed totally the design and experience of life, replacing a lot of analogic way to work, way to experience life. And finally, was not at all like that. What I've seen, for example, in these years, is that, of course, also by working with students, there were a lot of pros of this technology. For example, if we talk from a design point of view, the possibility to design in the space compared to a PC that you have always a flat screen, even with 3D technologies. So design in space, sketch with also other people in the same time from different parts of the world. You could actually also follow tutorials in immersive reality and or integrate other applications. So at the end, these were a lot of additional values. But at the same time, for example, in particular in fashion, where we need actually the touch sense, we need actually to experience the clothing or any kind of accessory also directly on the person. This had many limits. And in particular, so the question is, which values could this technology add? For example, in a design process, like in the prototyping, saving a lot of materials, or for example, when we are also as a freelancer in front of proposing different solution to a customer, we can do it much faster and show directly how it would look, at least aesthetically, from the beginning.
Just excuse me, but to add to your answer, I get it, but in a point of sustainability, that's really valuable, because when it comes to mass production, retail, that can be very applicable. But when it comes to couture and haute couture, as a not a designer who's like very friendly with the generation which is going on right now, I do enjoy the process of doing it by myself, like touching it, as you said, the feel of it, because then I can identify some of the technical things that can go wrong in the process while doing the process, the production and stuff, which I do not see while the technology can cover that part. Do you agree or not?
Yeah. In fact, even if I'm always looking into new technologies, new approaches, trying to find the values of each technology in each application.
Yeah.
I'm also super passionate of making things with hands.
Yeah.
And so what what they feel is that finally all these kind of new technologies are important to be integrated whenever add values or improves the process.
Yeah.
So, for example, in your case, that you like to do things, you don't have to integrate. Just for example, if this technology can support you, maybe to present your project directly to another customer with before actually maybe getting so expensive materials.
True.
And so, but at the end, how we integrate, it depends on how we want to integrate.
Yeah.
And whenever makes sense to do it. Because otherwise the risk is again to confuse the innovation with new technologies integration that sometimes is really against with the innovation itself. Innovation is when actually gives new values, a new improvement of the process, or and also in the experience. So if a technology gets worse, the design experience doesn't make sense to adopt.
True. And like for the past few years, it's great example that we see so much new trends of technology waves are coming and hitting the design industry. And what's that point that designers and fashion brands should be considered about whether to pick that technology or just not go with the trend? And what's that cutoff point of decision making that they should follow?
So, for example, you speak about enterprises.
I mean, like as a fashion designer or
Also
a fashion
individuals.
brand, like when a design technology, a new technology comes to the market, because people rush to adapting the new technology in the fear of feeling that they might fall behind, that the other brands will pick it and they would move forward. So what's that point that they should be very careful on picking a new technology and letting not to be fooled by the trends of the market?
Okay, so again, my point of view is not the true. Is not it's important, of course, to stay aligned, understand how the market goes, to just don't be independent in a way that we lose even our market as an enterprise. But it's important that we also think, not directly rush into the new technologies without any strategy, because the risk is that if we directly follow the mass without understanding how to integrate, how can these technologies really add values, the risk is that we lose even our personality as an enterprise.
That's true.
Or our values that are already characterizing our enterprise. Then think, if everyone then adopt the same technologies, using the same way to use it, what is the value what is the aspects that characterize then your business from another
the brand
one,
image, yes,
or your way to design.
Yeah.
And so actually in that case, I think we need to start from what really makes our brand unique, and then understand how this technology can create an extension, can create a bridge to our target in another way, without losing personality.
Yes, that's what's my next question. Because like many technology things come in. And when it's a fashion brand, they have a brand image that is already in the consumer's mind, right? So this new technology, adapting the new technology can have a big shift from the brand image that they have already created in the trend market, right? So what's that thing that the designers should be careful when adapting new technologies, not losing their self of identity? And the next thing I wanted to ask was, because I have friends all over who's in the IT industry and who is in this technological part in the garment industry, trying to influence me to get into this stuff. But for like years, like maybe now 6 years, 5 years of convincing, I'm still not convinced. So what's that point that a brand, a designer should be careful of not losing their identity?
Yeah, so the fact is, thinking about it's all about really who you are as brand, as a designer, and what you bring to your customers.
Yeah.
Because of course, if for example you are a good, for example, a lot of brands that still doesn't use any social media or
Sure.
are not using any advertising
Yeah.
are much strong. Because the fact is, also me, I'm not a great example of a social media manager of myself, but the fact is, we know that if we try to have social media without having a good strategy, the risk is that finally our image to our customer is that we are not active or not super, we are not a great business. And so the fact is, when we adopt something, is important that is aligned to our customer expectation. So when the new integration create an additional value to the final experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's better to don't adopt and maybe insist on certain values. We can also integrate in our design process in order to maybe, for example, there are designers that use this kind of technologies just to gather ideas, but then they still start from their own idea or own way to work to develop new
And technology is
possibilities.
something that should amplify us as designers, as more amplify us, our creativity, not to be just a trend or a technological. It's just a tool that for every designer, right?
Yeah, exactly. And on this, I would like to just give some discuss a little point. So, for example, in my career, what I've seen is that a lot of designers, in particular the ones that were working as a graphic designers or 3D modelers, have seen that they've studied so many years a software or other kind of approaches. And then after the software was there anymore, maybe there were automations that were doing 2 hours job in a couple of minutes or a few seconds, or new technologies like with AI that actually disrupt their kind of job or their way they learned how to work. You know, and so my
People
point.
have basically forgotten how to write an email because of AI.
Yeah, that's another point. What I would like to communicate in particular is. So what I have to say to my students or to other designers that are in crisis because of this drastic change every year, from my point of view, design, the design aspects we learn as designer is evergreen. So if we understand not how to use the softwares and procedures to work, but we understand the main principle of design, those then can be adapted really easily in any technologies. What I'm teaching in graphic design, in Photoshop or any other also open source design softwares, the principle then can be found in VR or other more advanced immersive technologies like mixed reality or, for example, extended reality that is much more for the big industries. But the logics at the end are the very standing on certain principles that arrives from analogical things.
Okay.
And so also in that case, in introducing new technologies, if we can if we learned the basic principles of design, then we can adopt to any other technologies and decide what to do.
Yeah.
Because also the adoption of new technologies that are more automated, if we don't have an idea of design principle, then it's like depending on new technologies.
And one last question, because I know that you're a great musician too. So in the world that we are living today, it's very artificial. I don't want to say artificial, sorry. It's very technical, the world that we are in such a rush. We all are in such a, it's just like a very, it's like a game that we are in a constant race. So music grounds a person. I mean, like art grounds a person. Having that cultural, artistic value as a person grounds a person. So what's that influence in the technological aspect in your life?
You
What's
mean,
the rhythm that it brings to your work?
Okay, so
Because it's very different. And
yeah.
people are losing the touch of art.
So the fact is, music. What I've seen in the different years of experience. So I started to study music when I started actually to study fine arts
Okay.
and explore a little of technology. So it's something that always went parallel.
Yeah.
What I've seen is that there are a lot of analogies in all the sectors,
Okay.
also in music. So, for example, for me, music is something totally different that always accompany me
Yeah.
and my design production because it's another way to express. And also, for example, in technology, technological aspects always enter
Okay.
inside my production. So I give you this example.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me, do you prefer to play an electric cello
Yeah.
or a classical cello? The question is, why should we compare? So
True.
the fact is, each, for example, an electric cello lets you create sounds that a classical cello cannot create.
Yeah.
Classical cello can create sounds that, or certain aspects which are much more unconscious that an electric cello cannot provide.
True.
And so it's like at the end it depends on which kind of experience we want to live as a musician, as a listener.
Yeah.
So the same, the integration of music, the integration of technology in music is something that makes sense when at the values or when creates an environment the listener looks for.
Yeah.
Otherwise, also in that case, the analogical instrument make more sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
You're
that
just
was
so-
the question.
Yeah. I mean, you're so passionate talking about music and technology at the same time. It's just amazing.
You know, the fact is, what I really learned is that if you learn the principle of music,
Yeah.
principle of art, principle of technologies, there are many, many links.
Connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
And always we can learn from one sector to the other. I give you this additional example.
Okay, I want to listen this because I do not see any similarity in any of that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so for example, we said that fashion compared to other sector is less advanced in technological innovation, particularly in the digital. You know, what I always saw is that in gaming, for example, in the gaming sector, there are much more advanced applications that are much more creating much more engagement in the customers.
Okay.
And the question is why? Because the fact is they were much more in this kind of sector to create new experiences, and in particular in the gaming sector, the goal was to actually hide the interface, to focus on the experience that should be much more natural and natural. The application in the fashion sector that I've seen right now into virtual reality or mixed reality had always some issues.
Yeah.
The fact that they focus on the interaction or the goal without thinking about the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so the point is, in general, understanding different sectors can help to understand which are the aspects that we are missing in the technological and in innovation in our sector. And so, for example, why gaming works in virtual reality, not always also, but works much more than in the fashion field right now.
Yeah.
It's because probably the experience we created until now were not satisfying, were not adding values to the fashion design experience.
Okay.
And so the purpose would be to start from actually the actual needs of designer to then create a new experience that are easy to adopt or to that actually are how to say are cool to explore and to approach by the designers.
Okay. So far from the trends that it already came and went, faded, what have been your favorite? What was your favorite?
So what I think, I don't have a favorite trends, favorite software.
Okay.
I always look which kind of values added. So as a designer,
Yeah.
my approach is always cross-device, cross-software, according to the needs. So I always try to find in each software what can do, which
Okay.
are the limits, and then in case I use a mix.
Okay.
And so, for example, in virtual reality, what I think is for after this big fall,
Yes.
something remained, and what remained, that is the kind of experience or the fact to interact with other people without having always the PC in the front. We can also stay in the same room, co-design to the same things. Again, more in the prototyping phase right now. This kind of experience can be actually the base to develop new technologies that maybe integrate AI or other kind of new technologies that actually can support what is analogic.
Yeah.
And then enterprises can actually decide how to integrate according to their goals and their volunteer.
Okay.
You know.
That was a great conversation, and thank you so much.
Thank you to you for the invitation.
So it was very inspiring. So it was such an inspiring conversation. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
It was just like reminding us that technology is not the destination, but it's just a tool. In a world where trends move faster than ever, it's easy to forget that true innovation lies in meaning, not machinery. What really stood out to me from today is that technology should never replace who we are as creators. It should amplify our identity, our craftsmanship, and emotion behind the creation that we do. So, to everyone watching, may this be a reminder to create with intention, not pressure, because in the end, the most powerful designs, digital or not, are the ones that stay true to human experience. This is Fashion Voices with Kushan. Until next time, stay inspired and stay authentic to yourself. Love you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.